All right, hey y'all. Let's talk more brain tumor surgery recovery. Last time I talked about being in the ICU, intensive care unit, right after surgery. This time I'll talk about being in the neurosurgery recovery wing, hall, whatever. Where I was for another, I think, 5 days or so. I think I was in the hospital for a week total. Before they discharged me. So they moved me into my own room at some point with window, nice, with some light. So I'll try to keep it brief. A lot of stuff happened, or a lot of change. Here's where I could start to I can remember a little bit more what actually happened. So the first thing I can say is they happened to be doing some kind of construction in that hall while I was there. And you can probably imagine that, recovering from brain surgery, you're a little sensitive to loud noises and vibrations. So it's a bit funny that they're doing loud construction stuff there while I was there. It sucked. But stuff like that, happens. And I think that had something to do with the next thing, which is I remember having recurring nightmares while I was in there of being in some kind of war. And I was like a commander in this war. And every time I fell asleep, I would pop back into this nightmare. This was also, I had surgery close to when 9/11 happened. So, I mean, man, lots of stuff going on around me at this time too. So nightmares, yeah, for sure. My brain had a lot of stuff to process, to try to go through, but I mean, right after surgery, it was just as I mentioned in the last video, survival mode completely, my body and mind. So the dreams were a part of that too, for sure. This nightmare, this battle, this noise, this everything. Totally incorporating the construction sounds into helicopter sounds and war. I was lying in bed, obviously, most of the time. I did slowly start to get up and try to walk. So the main issue with it was not how weak I was, but my balance. So another thing that this tumor does, and taking it out, is a great trauma to the balance system, because the inner ear, this tumor is also called vestibular schwannoma, and vestibular is the balance stuff. So it is destructive to one of your balance centers, which is your inner ear. So when that went offline, my balance was off, way off. The tumor was also really big, so it was pushing on my brainstem, which also had an impact. So we take that out, suddenly there's a little wobble there, a little movement, a little shift, and it takes some time for the brain to adjust. But man, does it know how to adjust. Because now these days, my balance is pretty good, I would say. If I close my eyes, or if it's totally dark, it's another story. If I make quick movements, especially to the left, it's another story. I still have this balance center. All good. But when I woke up from surgery, during recovery, balance was a big part of it. And for a lot of people, especially if they have surgery older, balance is a big issue. I have heard. So I was trying to walk, definitely holding on to stuff always, because one of the things that they told me could not happen. Do not let this happen, is falling down. So it's a little 1-2 punch. You have horrible balance, but you cannot fall down because, if you hit your head on something, it could be super bad. So I remember starting to walk a little bit more, taking little steps, somebody helping me, or just there were railings everywhere. Down the hall, once it got better, back to my room, I still wasn't eating anything because I still couldn't swallow. So I was still just running on like caffeine basically and losing lots of weight. My body was just burning everything that it could. I wasn't very big anyways, but I was real skinny when I got out of the hospital. But it's crazy what your body can do on just caffeine. So learning to walk, facing the reality that like I couldn't hear in my ear and that probably that wouldn't come back. I was still hopeful that it would come back, my hearing. It never did, but I had a little bit of like a delusion almost that it would. Same thing with my facial movement. So my face muscles, half of them, didn't work at all. It was just paralyzed completely. And that took a while to come back, even a little bit. So just the emotional impact, the psychological impact was starting to like hit me more when I was in the recovery wing. The sort of like the better I was feeling, the more it hit me, the more my mind could sort of process what was going on. So the more it hit me, how this affected my life, affected me, changed me forever. I remember asking it was a resident, I think, is this gonna come back? And him just telling me point blank, like it might not. And I think I cried, or at least was distressed. I don't know if I ever cried because I was too like detached from it, but I was distressed about it. I remember that. And I told my mom about it, and she then had the neurosurgeon come in and like talk with me, tell me that it's very important that I stay positive. And yeah, so you can't, if depression just takes you over, it's a real problem. Like your body needs the positive vibes to recover well. So yeah, that was one thing I remember. I remember having so I remember someone showering me at a certain point, making it down the hall to the shower, someone holding me up or something, helping me shower or washing me. And I remember during the shower, a clear liquid leaking out of my nose. And they had told me to watch out for this. And that is CFS liquid. Cerebrospinal fluids, CSF. So that's the stuff that like your brain is floating in and your spine has going. A lot of liquid there. And they said, tell us if there's a leak here because it's very important. So I told them, because if this fluid gets infected, that's meningitis. And that's the bad kind of meningitis that you can die from. So they reacted very swiftly. I'm sure they put an antibiotic into my IV. But they also did a spinal tap. I don't know if you've ever had a spinal tap. It's horrible. I remember this being bad. No fun. Okay, they come in with a needle that's like this big. Like the container is like this big. And the needle is like this or whatever. Scariest looking like thing. And they're gonna stick it in your spine. Into your actual spine. And And to make it even better, I mean, I'm laughing because this is removed from me by many years, which is why I can talk about it like this. They had a resident do this to me, to practice on me, which made me think too, like, can't you practice this on someone who's not recovering from brain surgery? In any case, so they said get in a fetal position, roll up in a ball on your side, to make the, like, vertebra, open up a little bit in the spine, so that they can stick the needle in between somewhere. Stick the needle in, and then they just said, like, tell us when your head starts to hurt. And I was like, okay. So I hear them talking about, like, the position of the needle, the angle of the needle, like, going in. So the person teaching the resident. And it was uncomfortable. And so what they're doing is they're draining liquid to release pressure, and also to test for bacteria or whatever, for infection, I think. But mainly to relieve pressure. And and then suddenly, when there's enough fluid gone, you get an instant headache all around your brain. And I said, it hurts. And then they stopped. And then they had this needle full of, like, fluid. It was intense. It was intense. So that is a specific thing also that happened. But yeah, here I also, like, and, at night or during the day when she visited me, my mom would, like, read me a book. And I remember my closest friends from college came to visit once too, which was intense. I was in a different, like, state, so I could just appreciate them for coming to visit and having them there. I was just filled with sort of, like, gratitude that these people were there, and close to me and cared about me. One of them, she felt sick to her stomach, like, upon seeing me. She was, like, unwell, and I remember the nurse asking her if she needed to go to the ER. But yeah, I'll talk more about that, I think, in a later video, because it was something. I was in an altered state, and I would say now a more healthy state, more accurate state of appreciation for people and ability to be close to them, and being full of gratitude for people and connection. So, yeah, I'll talk about that more. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, but I also, once I was feeling a bit better and I could actually stand on my own, walk on my own a little bit better. I remember going to the bathroom for the first time. The catheter came out, and going to the bathroom and seeing myself in the mirror for the first time. I remember that. I think I mentioned this in another video too. I was just saw myself. I was just like, Jesus Christ. This is me. Like, this actually happened. Just, like, face all weird. Intense. And then eventually I could sort of swallow a little bit again, and the test for that is you go and you swallow something with a like a dye in it that they can see on an X-ray machine or whatever, and you swallow something while they look at your swallowing mechanism via X-ray, and if you pass that test, then you can leave. So I remember that, and I passed it, so I was cleared for discharge. And I think it felt early to me. It felt like, oh my God, I'm not ready to go home. Like, keep me here longer. But they let me go. And I'll talk about that next time, maybe. Recovery at home, which was long. In any case, that's it for now. Thanks.